My name's Ronan. I'm IT support for you. We're based in Wicklow Town, but we cover most of the East Coast, and we also do we do a lot of our stuff is based online, so we can work remotely. I've been on helping people through TeamViewer and stuff like that in America, Spain, Saudi Arabia, and I was in Dubai last week. So we can work remotely from anywhere, just depending on the issue and stuff like that. So just to start it off then, so what is cybersecurity? The cybersecurity is a means by which individuals and organizations reduce the risk of becoming victims of a cyber attack. There are virtually hundreds and thousands of different cyber attacks in different scenarios where your systems can get affected or whatever. So how do the criminals get into your systems, or how do they do it? The sad truth is that it's through some of the everyday activities that we take so much for granted. So whether that's on your mobile phone, which as of last year is up about 400%. So through websites, whether that's spoof websites or they attack your website, or whatever means they use to get in. So whether it could be email, via Facebook, text message, invoice spoofing, phone calls, public Wi-Fi, you plug in a USB key into your computer that you don't know if there's anything on it. There can be a small program installed on a USB key, and it can very, very easily hack your system or get onto your network. If it gets onto your network, it can pretty much take down the whole thing within a couple of seconds. So how do you get infected? That's a kind of a breakdown, a percentage-wise, of the different ways of getting infected. So at the top is malware, which includes ransomware, normal viruses, Trojans, all those kind of things. Social engineering is a massive growth. Well, I suppose we call it a growth area in cybercrime, whether that's through phishing emails, vishing, which is voice solicitation, or voice trying to hack you through the phone, text messages, all those kind of things. And then there's the hacking that we all kind of see, the young lads sitting in their bedroom trying to hack into different things. It is still an issue, but like there isn't as much of it, and the actual writing the code and stuff like that is on a large scale. Like, it's not the spotty teenager in his bedroom that's able to hack into NASA and stuff like that. A couple of the other things is like credential compromise. So looking over your shoulder while you're typing, or they get your password from different sources, or from keyloggers that are installed on your computer. Or the big one now is that any of these data breaches that happen. So the likes of, I think Zoom got done there last week. So they had 500,000 people's user details were stolen. They get sold on the dark web for a couple of pence. The cyber criminal buys them or whatever, runs them through a computer algorithm, tests the email address and the password on multiple different sites. And if they can get in, and if there's information there that they need, or if it's to your email, they then have access to your email and then decide what they want to do with it after that, whether it's worth them going down the road of trying to extort money out of you. There's many different ways of doing it. Like, you've all probably seen an email come in, and they're going, we know the password to your email address, transfer so much money to us, and we won't use it, or we won't show what we've saved on you, and all this kind of stuff. A lot of that is just because your email address and password have been found on the dark web. They send out this blanket email to people, and then they try and extort money out of you. Most of the time, they don't actually have access to anything. And if they did, they would be looking they'd be contacting you directly. But just a blanket email like that is just for phishing. Like, just delete them and make sure you change your passwords. So the different types of cybercrime, like, I'm not going to go into all of these different types of cybercrime, whether you're hacking. I don't know, I even had to look up some of these to see what they were, to get the definition of. Like, a salami attack or salami slicing as it's called, is a whole load of small little attacks that happen, and over time They rob little small bits of information. Over time, they build up to be a big cyber attack, and they've found a load of information on you, and you don't realize that they're after doing it. So like you've spoofing spam, like everybody's getting spam email through, and it's very, very hard to stop it. But just if it doesn't look right, don't click on it. It'd be my biggest piece of advice to people with that kind of thing. We have like phishing emails. They're looking for you to click on this to put in your credentials. You just have to be very, very aware of, hover over the one little tip is to hover over the email address that's after coming into you, and sometimes it'll pop up into a bigger window, and it might not be the email address that's down below, and it mightn't be from a recognized source. And again, if it doesn't look right, it's more than likely not right, and don't interact with it. You just delete the email. If it's what you think might be from your bank or something like that, and there is a problem, they're going to ring you or they're going to contact you. They're not just going to go through email. So just be vigilant and don't click if you don't trust it. If you haven't looked for any information from your bank or haven't sent out any information to your bank, you're more than likely not going to get contacted by them through email. So just a little, what bits we are going to cover today. We're going to cover a bit on malware. So that includes ransomware and all that good stuff that we all love to talk about. A little bit on phishing and vishing, which is voice phishing for information. A little bit on man in the middle attack. So man in the middle, as it says, is when someone gets in, usually with email, they get in between you and the end user, or you and the person you're trying to talk to, and they take in the email, read what it is, change bits in it, and send it on to the end user. And usually it's bank account details that they change. So you send an email. I had probably put in a story. I had a woman come into us, it must be 2 or 3 years ago now, but had been doing dealings with someone. She was Chinese, was doing dealings with someone in China, was buying in a consignment of stuff. How much stuff, I'm not sure. It was a couple of thousand involved in it. She was emailing them back and forward. She sent an email to him, yeah, I want to go proceed with the order. He said, right, perfect, here's my bank account details. She filled out the bank account details and did the transfer. The guy in China rang her a couple of days later and said, look, that money still hasn't arrived in my account. And she goes, look, here's the bank account details. We sent it to her, whatever. And he goes, that's not my bank account details. So she came in to us and said, oh, my laptop's been hacked. But the truth was that someone had spoofed her email address, and it was nothing to do with, there was no attack on her laptop. And she was out of pocket of the 5,000 or 6,000 that she was after sending to the guy. So if she had rang the guy in China and said, look, I've got your email, just want to verify this is your bank account number, this is your bank details, and he would have known straight away, no, that's not my bank account details. Like, it would have saved the whole thing. So putting a proper payment process in place is a really, really important thing to do for any businesses. Like, all my invoices when they go out have, if my bank details change, please contact me before sending any money. I've had maybe 2 people have contacted me just to check to verify the bank account details. And I've seen it more and more that the bigger companies now they're obviously putting these payment things in place, because these are becoming everyday occurrences that the banks call it invoice spoofing, where the invoices get changed in transit. And so just putting the proper payments structure or payment plan in place, and to make a phone call before you transfer any money is probably the biggest thing, especially if the details have changed. So just on to the malware. Malware covers virus, adware, rootkit, spyware, ransomware, Trojan horse, which is a Trojan horse, as the name suggests. It's usually a legitimate file sent with a payload in it. When you click on it, it opens up a virus and installs something on your computer, usually a keylogger or a ransomware or something like that. So a keylogger can go onto your system. Every time you press a key, it sends that information off to someone who then is able to decipher passwords and that kind of thing every time there's a key hit. So a little bit on ransomware. Ransomware is I have a slide here. So the definition of ransomware is a malicious program that is installed covertly on a victim's computer, and it installs in seconds. If anyone has ever seen, I've seen a couple of live demonstrations of ransomware being installed. It infects your computer within minutes, depending on how many files you have on it, and it encrypts them into a state that they're no longer useful to anybody. You can't get them at them, and the only way of getting around getting them back is to pay the ransom, which is like a very, very, very bad idea. Like, because then you're all of a sudden on a list of people that pay, so you're going to get attacked more often. And also, like, these are criminals and they're trying to extort money. The chances of them actually giving you the right key to unlock your information is quite low. So, like, I've seen, I don't know how many I've seen at this stage now, but I've seen a lot. And I've seen two people who have paid the ransom. It was in the early stages of it. They were relatively small amounts. They could have been 400 or 500, 600 euros maybe to get their information back. One of them got their information back, and one of them never heard from the criminals again. They just sailed off into the sunset with their money and left their files encrypted. So if it does happen, there is a couple of sites out there now that do have developed encryption, unlock keys, and all that kind of stuff. So they're with some of the more, I suppose, not as complex ones, there are ways around it, but not very often. So the best way to protect against it is to have a backup and a secure backup of your information. So there's a little graphic that shows you how prevalent the ransomware thing has become. Like in 2012, there was one variant, and in 2016, there was 197 different variants of ransomware detected. It has kind of leveled off, and it hasn't climbed too quickly since that. But that was the 2017 was the biggest year for it, and it's a huge money cash cow for the criminals, and it's so easy to do, that they can you can go onto the dark web and buy a package, and then just you can buy a ransomware package. So it has instructions of how to deploy it, how to set it up, how to send it. It gives you the email platform to send it out through. You can select a list of emails, send it to them. If that one of them gets infected, it'll automatically take all their contacts and send it on to them, and it just spreads like that. But it's not, as I say, it's not the guy sitting in the room with the writing the code and all that kind of stuff anymore. It's people going on to the dark web and buying the package to do it. So it's so easy to do it. It's not even funny how easy it is to do it. But just a little bit around social engineering. What social engineering is, it's kind of the opposite of the hacker sitting in his bedroom typing away. This on social engineering, it's a strategy. It's non-technical strategy cyber attackers use. It relies heavily on the human interaction and often involves tricking people into breaking standard security practices. So there are numerous ways of doing it, of getting you to click on an email or to install something on your computer, or like I have a video here that'll show you just how easy it is to get your information. So that's just a little insight into how easy it is for people who know what they're doing to get into your system, to get information on you. Like like I say to a lot of people, if you were walking down the street, you're not going to go up and tell someone what you had for your dinner or what you did. So why go and put it on Facebook? One story I heard recently, I was at a cybersecurity event in the UK. There was a company and the CEO put everything on Facebook. He had all their company profiles, staff profiles, company profiles, everything that happened in the office went on social media. So there was a new girl in accounts. They got new windows in the office, and the CEO was going on holidays. So a hacker saw all this stuff and used it to his advantage. He spoofed the CEO's email address, went on to social media, got all the information from them, sent the girl in accounts an email saying, look, I'm going off on holidays. I'll be gone for 2 weeks. I've forgotten to do the final transfer to the window guy. And can you put this, I think it was 5,000 sterling, through to them? And I'll see you when I come back in 2 weeks. So the new girl goes, oh, geez, I better send this invoice in or I'll get in trouble when the boss comes back. So she did it. The boss arrived back, 5 grand gone out of their account, and they haven't a leg to stand on because the part they click send on the money, so the money's gone. They go and trace the bank account, and the bank account's long closed at this stage, and the people are gone off with their money. So if she had rang the boss and said, look, are you sure would you want me to do this payment? He would have known straight away. So if you're transferring money to something you don't know, just make a phone call. It's the quickest and easiest way around it. Just a little quote I saw the other day, what is frightening about social engineering, it relies on our greatest security weakness, our trusting nature. Like even when we're warned about it, sometimes you're under pressure or you're stressed or whatever, and you're just going, oh no, I just need to get this done, and you're just sending it. Like, just slow down and follow procedure when you're coming to any of this kind of stuff. It'll save you a lot of embarrassment and it'll save you a lot in the long run. If you just take that step back and realize what you need to do and what you have to do. So what do we think of when we think of a hacker? Is that this guy sitting in his bedroom typing away on the keyboard and writing code and all that kind of stuff? This is what I was alluding to earlier on. The truth about it is a lot more sinister than that. So I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Tor or the Onion router. So the Tor browser, it's a really secure browser it's very, very, very difficult for you to decipher where the information is coming from. Like the layers of an onion, there's multiple layers of network that it goes through. So it's virtually impossible to trace. And if you use the Tor browser, you can go on to what's called the dark web. And if you want to read any of them there, that's what's the Silk Road, if anyone's ever heard of it. There you can buy absolutely whatever you want on that. And you can also buy a ransomware payload I've seen them for $40, $50, $60. And it gives you full instructions how to deploy it. And you just send it out and put in an amount that you want to tell people to decrypt their information. And like either some of them are going to send it to you, some of them are going to not. But like that is how easy it is for some of these cyber criminals to do it. So it's not that you have to be really up in computers and to be able to do it. It's just you just have to have the want or the need to go and do it. This video is about it's about 6 minutes long, but it just gives you an idea of phishing and just different hacking techniques and stuff like that that you can watch out for, and it's very, very easy. Like even if you just showed this video to your staff, it'll show them an awful lot about how these things work. So I just play that and
See how bad a hack can get. So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas at DEFCON, the biggest hacker convention of the year, and see what they found. This might not have been the best idea. DEFCON is the biggest hacker convention of the year. It's a place where thousands of hackers come to hear talks, to demonstrate their newest hacks. It's actually a place that's so dangerous to be on the internet that they tell you to turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on your phone. And they tell you not to use the ATMs too, because those can be hacked as well. This is the DEFCON ballroom. This is where the main room where things are happening. And it's pretty wild. I think this is car hacking village. This car is locked. Can you get me in? I'll unlock it for you. Should be good. Hacking is no longer like this fringe activity. And if you are at DEFCON, there's a good chance that you're here because you want to learn what could happen to you or your company. Anyone here first time in the SCCPF? I invited.
Ronan, the sound is gone on the video.
Baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's fine and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds, Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jessica uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my
Thank
password.
you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her set after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yeah.
I really thought that my cell phone company would protect me. I mean, like, this is the most basic stuff, and they're not doing it. And if they're not doing it, you know all these other businesses aren't doing it either. Anyone with a phone and an internet connection can do social engineering. But I was curious, what can a hacker with serious coding skills do?
Well, DEFCON is the world's biggest hacking convention. It's hacking everything. Hacking social, hacking hardware, hacking software, hacking various systems.
I asked Dan Tentler, a well-known security researcher, to turn all of his firepower on me.
I did get into quite a number of things that I found.
So what were the first things you did? How did you start hacking me?
I quickly found your Squarespace blog and had an idea. Basically, what I did was created a bogus Squarespace site and sent an email to you, a fish asking you to go to this website, run this certificate install.
And I did it because I'm an idiot.
So once you ran that, it gave me access to your computer, and I created several fake pop-ups that looked like system pop-ups that would ask you for your credentials. You didn't. I stole your 1Password keychain.
And 1Password is where I store all my other passwords. So effectively,
and your social security number and your Amex stuff and all your stock trading and bank information. I can send email to everyone in this room as you. I am you right now, if I wanted to be. If my evilness is working correctly, it should actually be taking pictures of your desktop and pictures through your webcam every 2 minutes. And I have been watching you for about 2 days now. In coffee shops, at your mom's house, on a plane. You're editing stuff. There's your
oh my god! So this is literally
every 2 minutes
through my webcam.
Yeah, through this guy.
How badly could you have messed up my life?
I could have made you homeless. I could have made you homeless and penniless.
How would you make me homeless?
Like, I have control of your digital life in its entirety. I have all your credentials. I have all your access to all your financial information, all your work information, all your personal information. I can pay people with your bank account or your Amex account. I am you. I can fully impersonate. The only thing I couldn't doctor would be like your fingerprints.
This is like as bad as it gets.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's bad.
So it turns out that Dan Tentler is very good at his job. I mean, he hacked the hell out of me. He got everything. I mean, frankly, I want to take my computer and throw it into the deepest part of the ocean, and I want to become a hermit, and I want to never touch a piece of technology again, because holy shit, that was everything. That was the keys to my entire life, and he just pulled them out of his pocket.
So that'll give you an idea on what you can do, what can be done when you really want to, or when you have the ability to do it. But like most of us, or most people aren't going to come up against something that bad like that. They're going to want to steal all your information. But if you're the CEO of a big company or big corporation, like they're the kind of the big people they're after. So what do you do to protect yourself, or what do we do to protect ourselves? Like educate is the biggest thing. Like if you tell your staff, or if you show, even show some of those videos or whatever to staff, and they realize that some of those emails coming in, and that just to put a proper payment thing in place and procedures in place, once if anything did pop up, they'll go, oh yeah, that's where oh, I've seen that before or whatever, and they'll question it. But I don't know if any of you have ever tested how good, how strong your password is. Your password can be where is it gone? Just give me 1 second and I get this link for you. So this is a website called How Secure Is My Password. If you type in your password there, it'll tell you how long it will take to like a computer will be able to decipher that within 400 milliseconds. One of the biggest things with password is to have like like if you use caps and all that kind of stuff and asterisks and all that, like computers are easy enough to decode that kind of stuff. The best way to make a password is with 3 to 4 unrecognized or unattached words. So if you dog shop door, and then like if you put in 4 but there's no capital letters, there's no numbers, there's no anything in that. But like if you add a number to that, it just brings it up so much. So if you have a very simple password, like please don't be using 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 or using password. They're just, computers can flick through so many passwords per second that they pull all these kind of things up very, very quickly. So just use passwords that are as I saw somewhere, like passwords that's easy for you to remember, but hard for a computer to decipher. So words, unassociated words are hard for a computer to decipher, but are easy enough for you to remember. And just change them regularly. And they say not to use the same one on all accounts, but it's very, very hard not to, because you have so many accounts and so many things to get into now. And then, as that video showed you, the guy had one password saving all his passwords in it. Once that password is hacked, that's you're straight into everything he has. So you just have to be very careful of it. And then I just show you this. This is a site, Have I Been Pawned? It's quite well worth going onto it and putting your email address into it. That is my personal email address, and that shows that Canva has lost my credentials, iMesh, LinkedIn, Under Armour, Paddy Power, and verification. So all those sites were compromised at some stage, and your credentials were harvested off it. But if I use my business email address, which I would only really use for business stuff, and I try not to use it on the likes of Paddy Power and the likes of these sites that aren't as secure. I try to use that for my, like, your business and your banking and all that kind of stuff. So if you can separate your business stuff from your personal stuff, and the sites you're going on to, that you're just typing in email addresses to get access to a download or something like that, it just makes sense to use a different email address. And like, if you want to test your email address, just that's the links. I can send these on to you afterwards. But Windows updates and software updates, is doing all your patches, is critical for keeping, like, I know Windows 7 went end of life there at the end of last year, and people are going like, what is it really going to affect me? Well, yes, it is going to affect you, because Windows aren't going to release any new updates to combat any new viruses coming out. So you really have to keep your programs, keep your Windows, keep everything up to date. As the more up to date it is, the easier or the harder it is for hackers to be able to break into it. And then you're putting your payment plan in place, putting, like, as simple as making a phone call before you do a transfer is all you need to do. It doesn't have to be something big and elaborate, but have it written down and have it that people are trained in it. If you're training your staff to look out for this stuff, and then put a proper plans and processes in place, it's going to help you along the way an awful lot. And then, like, what we do is a lot of is what business continuity. So you might have a backup, or you might have, oh yeah, we back it up onto a hard drive, it's back it up every night and all this kind of stuff. But if you're backing up onto a hard drive, or you leave it plugged into your laptop, if you get infected with ransomware, that means that the backup hard drive gets infected with ransomware also. So you need to have a backup that you take away with you, like taking a USB key away with you, or a hard drive away with you at night, is better than leaving it plugged in. But still, those things go wallop, and they go faulty, or they get lost, and this kind of thing. So you just have to put a proper business continuity in place, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that now. And one big thing, if it doesn't look right or sound right, don't click on it. So what is business continuity? What most people think business continuity is for the big disasters, like big fires, floods, tornadoes, storms, that kind of stuff. People, that's what think business continuity is for. But most businesses have plans to recover from natural disasters, floods, fires, power cuts. However, they only account for a small portion of outages causing downtime. Like, natural disaster accounts for about 11%. I think these figures are 2019 maybe. Like, at the time, ransomware was 23%, human error was 24%, and then an ISP, or an internet provider, outage was 26%. So hardware is going to go wrong and will go wrong. So you really have to insure against this. I suppose my business is a bit like insurance. You won't need it until you need it. But when you need it, you really do need it. So criminals are going to get smarter. Like, we're always going to be one step behind them, trying to catch up on what the next latest virus is, and they're going to be bringing out ransomware threats that we haven't even thought of yet. So these slides are sent in to me by my who provide us with the business continuity, and one of their things is people are idiots. So people are going to click on that link. People are going to go into, maybe it's a disgruntled employee will go in and delete stuff off your server or delete files and stuff like that, and you need to protect yourself against that. So if you just have a USB key, it's easy for a disgruntled employee to go, oh, I'm not backing up today. They didn't respect me today or do what I wanted them to do today, so I'm not going to do the backups or follow through with it. So people are probably our greatest risk. This is Jeffrey Wong. I don't know if anyone's ever seen this before. I think I've shown it to a couple of people, but Jeffrey is the Hawaiian Emergency Management Agency operations. So this picture was put on an article he wrote for, I think it was a newspaper, no, it was a magazine, it was a security magazine. And there was, I think he actually lost the job over it. I tried to do a bit of research into it, I couldn't find out whether he did lose his job or not. So this is a picture of his office that was put out on a magazine. The American Security Agency, I can't remember the name of them, got an email from this guy saying that there was a missile attack imminent. It was on its way in, and it came from his email account. So they had to act on it. But the reason it came from his email account is his email address was stuck on the bottom of the screen, and obviously some hacker decided that it was a good idea to log into his account and send an email from it to the agency to tell them that there was a missile on the way. So, like, just be wary of, especially in these times when we're on Zoom and we're on calls online and stuff like that. Just be careful about what's on the wall behind you, and make sure your passwords aren't written up there and your bank details aren't written up there. And just be wary of what you're doing in your work environment. So this is a little bit of a closing thing. It gives a little bit more information on what they found out in the video we showed you earlier on.
We used to think of hackers as these sort of fringe characters, but now when so much of our lives are lived on these connected devices, they're power brokers. They can make or break us.
Kind of log into our account.
They stole your 1Password keychain. I mean, they know more about this stuff than anyone, and that's a power that is going to become increasingly valuable. I think the best thing to do is to enable them to help us rather than shoo them away. Do you guys have any of those little things you put over the camera on your laptop? Paradoxically, I feel more secure now than I did last week, because now at least I know what I have to fix.
I suppose that the biggest takeaway from that is that knowledge is king. Once you have the knowledge that you know what can happen and you know what you have to do to protect yourself against it, it's the start of it. So once you know what you have to do, it's up to you then to do it. So a quote that I like to use on these things is to learn and not to learn and not to do is really not to learn, or to know and not to do is really not to know. So you can know all this stuff and do nothing, and you're not going to protect yourself. But so get out there and train people, talk to people. If you have staff, put a proper payments plan in place, put a proper structure in place. If you have people's information backed up on your computer, make sure it's secure and it's safe. So kind of my call to action for this is: do you store important information on your laptop? And how long would your business survive if you lost access to it? 85% of businesses who suffer a major data loss are closed within 2 years. How much would you be willing to pay for peace of mind that your business is secure? So this is on to a little bit about how the business continuity plan that we provide works. So are you on Google's G Suite or Office 365? If you read into the small print, Microsoft don't back up your information. Like, your stuff is stored in the cloud, but you need to make sure that it's not, like, ransomware can still get to you in the cloud. There's a new variant called Ransom Cloud, and it can get in, and if anyone wants a bit of information on it, I can show you how to do it. They send you an email saying there's a new spam filter being released by Microsoft, and you have to log in. And once you log in, you give them access to it, and all your information gets infected. So this is just a little bit about SaaS protection. So what SaaS is, software as a service. It describes it all at the start. So Microsoft Office 365, Google G Suite are all software as a service. So it's only a minute or two, a couple of minutes long.
Software as a service, called SaaS applications like Office 365 and G Suite, live in the cloud and give your business tools that are affordable, easy to use, enable collaboration on documents in real time, and allow your employees to work from anywhere. But what does in the cloud actually mean? When your applications live in the cloud, it simply means that your data is stored in Microsoft or Google servers rather than your own IT closet. You don't have to pay for the applications to be available all the time, or for software or hardware upgrades, but you do need to protect the data you and your employees create in the form of emails, files, and internal sites. Today, 1 in 3 users have experienced data loss in the cloud. The most common cause of data loss comes right from inside your business. Your employees or third-party applications have the power to delete data from cloud apps, whether it's on purpose or by accident. Just because your data is living in someone else's server doesn't mean it's immune to malicious attacks. Take ransomware. This form of malware can hold your data hostage unless you pay a ransom, and ransomware attacks in the cloud are on the rise. The benefits of moving to the cloud outweigh the risks, but could your company survive if all of your data was lost? What would you do without your emails, calendar appointments, contacts, files? As a business owner, you need to reduce the risk of losing data so you can focus on growing your business. But the recovery options in your SaaS applications are incomplete, cumbersome to use, time-consuming, or just plain unavailable. There's an easy way to protect your cloud data. Introducing SaaS Protection. SaaS Protection is your fail-safe in the cloud. If an employee deletes an important email, accidentally or maliciously, your IT expert can simply restore the latest version right to you or another user, all without ever stepping foot in your office. If you get hit with ransomware, your IT provider can restore emails, files, and sites in the state they were in before the infection. Not only that, but by saving your data automatically in SaaS Protection, you simply pay for the backup, not the entire SaaS license fee when an employee leaves the company. Rest easy in your move to the cloud and focus on your business with the Cloud Backup Expert. SaaS Protection is comprehensive data protection in the cloud. Ask your IT provider to try it today to ensure your business against data loss, no matter what.
That's just a bit about what the SaaS protection is and what you need to do, or how SaaS protection works. If you read this, I should have put up the slide, but I have a slide with the small print from Microsoft, and they advise you to use a third-party backup for your cloud-based stuff. So this is for small businesses and people who are out on the road with a laptop. We provide a thing called Cloud Continuity, where Cloud Continuity is a cloud-based backup solution. And this will explain most of it better than me talking to you about it.
To eliminate data loss and help get your employees back up and running quickly in the event of a lost or stolen PC, ransomware attack, or other disaster. Did you know 1 of 10 corporate laptops will be lost or stolen over their 3-year lifetime? 140,000 hard drives fail in the United States each week. A new organization will fall victim to ransomware every 14 seconds. Your employees are critical to daily operations. Loss or failure of their PCs can mean lost business, loss of critical data, and work stoppage. Additionally, ransomware attacks, with the potential to lock up a number of PCs, exponentially increases this risk. It is impossible to take the guesswork out of when a disaster might occur. However, with data cloud continuity, You have the confidence that you can recover and get your employees back to business without skipping a beat, exactly as they were before. Cloud Continuity is a comprehensive BCDR solution for desktops and laptops. It provides automated backup of your employees' PCs directly to the data cloud. So regardless of where your employees travel and work, their PC is being protected. Cloud Continuity uses image-based backup technology. This means it provides several layers of protection to ensure your employees can get back to business quickly and easily. Files or folders accidentally lost or deleted? Cloud Continuity provides for an easy restore directly to your employee's PC. In the event of a PC loss or failure, getting a new device up and running for them is a snap. Not only does Cloud Continuity restore files and folders, but also all their applications and original system configuration. Their new PC will be race ready. No learning curve or frustrations with missing files or software. And most importantly, no lost productivity or data loss. With the threat of a ransomware attack always looming, rest assured Cloud Continuity provides an easy and speedy recovery. Protected PCs can be rolled back to their last backup prior to the attack. No ransom payments, no loss of functionality. With Data Cloud Continuity for PCs, you have the power to protect your business from becoming a victim of the statistics. Protect critical data and keep your employees up and running with this all-in-one BCDR solution for PCs, backed by a world-class 24/7, 365 technical support team. Find out more at datto.com/cloudcontinuity.
Yeah, so that'll give you an idea of some of the packages that we can do. Like that cloud continuity one is for as little as 116 per day. So what I like to say to people is it's that half a cup of coffee that you don't finish or that you throw down the sink, that's as much as it'll cost you a day to have a proper business continuity plan put in place to keep your business operation. If you're a one-man band on the road with a laptop or whatever and you lost it, would it be worth paying 116 a day to protect yourself? And the SaaS protection then is very, very reasonable too. It starts from as little as €5 per user per month. And as it said in the video, like if you have 10 users in the company and you reduce down to 8 or whatever, you can stop that license on a month by month basis. So it's not that you have to pay a big amount up in front and have a big bill at the end of the month. So if anyone needs any of this kind of stuff, I've a couple of slots free tomorrow. If anyone wants to go through a bit more about how to protect their business going forward, you can stick I see there's a couple of messages coming up in the chat there. I'll answer them now in a minute. But if you want to stick your email address or whatever into the chat, I can drop you an email and schedule you on for a call tomorrow afternoon, hopefully. So I'll just go on to the questions and answers now. That's pretty much it for the scare tactics and all that kind of stuff. I hope you all enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you want to ask any questions there, go ahead. I'm just going to read through some of these questions in the chat. I know I see that the audio mightn't have been working very well. So if anyone wants, though, I'll send them on. I probably have all your email addresses if you're registered, and I'll email on those couple of videos for you, so you can show it to your employees or show it to your staff, and going forward, they're able to see what can easily be done. So does anyone have any questions? I can.
Yes.
If you just unmute yourselves.
Yes, Ronan.
Yeah, Anne, how are you?
Good. That was great and very enlightening. So thanks for that. They said, or they say, that Mac was for some time more secure than Windows. Is that still the case, or is the Mac cloud and the Mac system just the same, just as vulnerable?
Macs are not as vulnerable, but they definitely are vulnerable. Like they say the iPhone is a lot more secure than the Android phone, and it's mainly to do with the App Store. Like Apple don't allow apps into the App Store before they're tested. There's a big testing procedure you have to go through, where Android do, and they say Android isn't as secure because it's on multiple different devices and platforms that has to be so open so all of them can use it. Like you've Huawei and you've Samsung and you've, I don't know, there's so many different ones that all use the Android platform, where iPhone is iOS for iPhone is only used on the iPhone, so it is more secure. But the Macs, they do get infected, and they can get infected with ransomware just the same as Windows can. But it is less. It's less of a problem, to be honest. But they do get infected.
And should you back up the iCloud then as well, or is that backed up? Do you know?
Your iCloud, what is like the iCloud from your numbers and stuff on your phone, or is there?
No, the iCloud is where I store a lot of the data, so that I can share it between my devices.
Yeah, like in fairness, the iCloud one is probably more secure than some of them because it's a private cloud.
Right.
The Microsoft will be on a more of a public cloud. It's worth looking into it to see. I don't know the definite answer for you. I can look into it and see. You have to read the small print and see what the cloud backup solution that we be doing. They have 9 data centers around the world. So we pick whichever data center you want to back it up into, and then there's a secondary data center. So it's backed up in 2 different places. So if one gets flooded, blows up, goes on fire, whatever, your information is then somewhere else as well. So with the likes of iCloud and stuff like that, it's more than likely only in one data center.
Okay.
That's where the vulnerability lies. That if that data center goes down, you're going to lose access to your information.
Yeah. In any case, I still want to talk to you about our stuff. So so schedule me in for tomorrow.
Yeah. No, drop your email into the chat there, and I'll put you in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks a million.
I expect.
Ronan,
Sorry.
can I ask you a couple of questions?
Yeah.
Should you always log out when you say you log in? I know it automatically logs you out the bank details and things like that, but sometimes if you get to log out, is it a bad idea to leave something logged in? Now, I have 2 more questions for you. If you just want to answer that one, or I think
logged out of your computer completely, or logged into.
No, just logged out to a particular thing. We'll say your bank details, or we'll say whatever site that you're on that you have to use. We'll say a login password, right?
Yeah, your most of the stuff does log out automatically, but like if your laptop, if your computer got compromised and someone got in, or you should have a screen lock on your computer that'll lock if you leave it idle for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or especially in an office situation. So yeah, you should log out.
It's just at home. The other thing that I just have a computer here, a desktop, but I have a remote, we'll say camera, for which I doing Zooms. They say that if you're doing anything on your computer, even if you're not on a Zoom, that you should cover your camera. Is that true or false, Ronan?
A lot of people do like to cover them. Like personally, I don't mind someone looking at me. I'm not doing anything that I don't mind them looking at. Like you saw with that video.
For security reasons, like
like you saw in that video that if your computer got infected with those keylogger or with the camera, they can take pictures of you. So if you're it probably is. It is a good idea to cover them. You can get little things now with a little slider on it. You stick it onto your screen or onto the camera, and there's a little thing you flick over and back to open it up and close it up. So yeah, no, your camera is vulnerable to being hacked. Yes.
The other question I want to ask, about emails. Now, I work with Air Web, right? But the amount of rubbish, and I know a lot of it comes into the junk box, but even into my main box, there will come a lot of rubbish emails, Is there any way of stopping them from coming in, Ronan? Selling silly things, sort of things that are not interesting.
If you keep adding them to the spam, they will. You can buy programs for spam filter and stuff like that. We do provide one. But like, if you can, when you open the email, at the bottom of it, there's usually an unsubscribe button. Like if you can go on through and unsubscribe, because you might have inadvertently subscribed to some of them, or they've subscribed you to them. But if they're still coming in, they're definitely spam. So you're going to have to go in and either put a spam filter in place to get rid of them, or if you're using Aircom or Gmail, there's not really a way of upping the spam filter. But if you're using a business email address that's hosted, you can get onto your hosting company and they can up your spam filter as well, which will protect you a bit more or stop some of the rubbish coming in.
Yeah, the other question is, sorry now for asking all the questions, Ronan, but about you said there about putting in a password or say like door, dog, different things.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're putting in a password, it'll tell you to put in to start with a capital letter or capital I, and then put in whatever name you want.
Yeah, it just makes them more secure. It just makes them more secure if there's a cap. Like a lot of them look for look for some sort of special character, or they have to have a capital letter, a normal letter, a number, and then a special character as well. Like if that's at or asterisk or one of those things, but it just makes them harder to crack.
That's okay, Ronan. Thanks. I will be, not tomorrow, but I will be in touch with you because there's a few things and more things I want to discuss.
No, give me a shout, yeah.
Talk to you over the next couple of weeks on that. Okay, thanks, Ronan.
Thanks a million.
Ronan, quick one there for you.
Yeah.
See, for instance, if you're on a laptop and, as you said, whatever happens, you can be cloned or whatever. Could that then move over onto your mobile phone somehow?
There are some kind of like very, very good, or you call them good or whatever, very sophisticated attacks that can go onto your network, and then they can go onto any device that's connected to your network. So like they got onto your, I know it's only in a home situation or whatever, onto your wireless router, your Aircom router or whatever, and then they'll go onto any devices. Like that, there are viruses and stuff that can come in on a phone, and when you connect it to your work network, they can go off your phone onto the work network.
Yeah.
And like, so just if one piece of advice, if you have a lot of people coming into your house or into your office or into your work and are connecting to your Wi-Fi, there's an option in your router to enable guest Wi-Fi. So it's the guest Wi-Fi that you let them onto, so they'll get internet access on it, but they won't have access to the other information on your network. So once you've enabled your guest, then it can't, if they're only on the guest, they can't, if they have something on their phone, it won't get across onto your normal network. And then as well, if you're plugging a device in to charge it, a lot of offices have a no personal device policy. You can't plug them in. Like a lot of people sit down in their office and the first thing they do is plug their phone into the computer to charge it. You're not allowed to do that now in a lot of offices because of the prevalence of viruses and stuff on phones and jumping across onto the computer. And once you get onto the computer, then they're on the network. So a lot of devices have a policy of not allowing you to plug in devices and not allowing you to bring your own device in and connect it to their network. You can only connect work devices to them. So yeah, no, they do. They can jump across. Like in a home situation, you're probably not going to come across it too much, but in a corporate office and stuff like that, it is a problem where people are bringing in devices and it's jumping from the device onto the network.
Yeah. Would you suggest just not plugging your phone in, unless you need to? I suppose.
Well, your own personal phone.
It's okay, is it?
Yeah, you're kind of all right. But if some friend or something came in and wanted to charge your phone, let them plug it into the wall and charge it by all means. But and just limit the amount of people you're letting onto your own Wi-Fi. It's if you go into the settings of your wireless router, it's very, very easy just to switch on the guest Wi-Fi, and it just becomes guest. You put a password on it, and you can set it up that way. It's quite easy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Ronan.
No problem. Have we got any more questions in the...
Yeah, Ronan, just I suppose an observation and a bit of information. Obviously, my background is in security, right? So even in the physical sense or a main guarding, but we've had to go into a lot of different companies and meet with people and expose threat, if you like, right? And the funny thing that I hear a lot, and I still hear today, which surprises me, is people will go, well, sure, why would you choose me? Why would anyone want to rob me or hack me, right? And because they don't really understand the motivation, and not only the motivation for people to do it, but how motivated they actually are. I'll see if I can find a video for you. It's an old video, but I'll contact a friend of mine who was in a particular third world country working as a bodyguard, and sent me a video of an office block, complete office block, state of the art, kitted out, with 400 staff who were hired to scam. That was their full-time job. 400 staff in there hired to do it. And what people have to understand is the amount of work, particularly in a lot of these areas, your average monthly salary was between 35 and 75 euros per month, or dollars per month. And if these guys work relentlessly, and if they even make $1,000, that's 2 years salary. And if they manage to do that 10 times over, that's 16 years salary for these people. So you can understand the level of motivation. But even here in Ireland, in the UK, for somebody, you know, to keep going through the numbers and eventually make 10,000 quid from that scam, no matter how small it is, it could be 100 here and there, 1,000 here and there. That's 3 months salary. And their extent of their motivation, they're extremely motivated. So not to get this notion that sure it'll never happen to me, and it couldn't happen to me, and why would it do it to me? But even that small bit that you have it makes a substantial difference to them. But I think something that I'm a big believer in, and I'm sure you'll advocate it, Conan's was part of Brendan as well, was don't save your password. I never, you know, when people said, you want me to save your password here? Yeah. I know a guy who lost his phone and had no PIN for his phone and had his bank account under with save password. So they literally just logged in and fleeced him. So that's just a bit of feedback in terms of people understanding their motivation. And
oh yeah, they're very motivated, all right. Like, and you just have to don't put any information out there that you wouldn't, like, if you, as I say, if you're walking down the street, you're not going to be tell people. So don't put it on social media if you're not going to tell people to their face. And I just see Caroline has a question there about using Malwarebytes and Avast. Malwarebytes, I use it myself as a software to clean up computers and stuff like that. And then Avast, I don't really use it, to be honest. But like, a free program is only as good as what you pay for it, to be honest, which would be the way I'd look at it. Like, a good antivirus isn't going to break a business or break anybody. Like, you're talking 30 to 40 euros a year for a half decent antivirus. So like, I go and spend the 30 or 40 euros and get a good one and put it in place, rather than the free ones. Free ones are grand for cleaning up things or running just to check if you got everything, but they're not going to stop the latest one coming out. In a couple of months down the road, they might pick it up, but go and spend the money on an antivirus would be my advice. And I see if a company has lost your details. Yeah, Eamon's asking there if you find a company have lost your details. Yeah, changing your password is all you can do, really. Like, your email address and password that has been told is linked, and so you change that password that you're using, it'll sort it out. The only problem is, like, you could have your Facebook password gets lost, but you have the same password on LinkedIn, on some app that you're using, whatever. You need to change it on them all, because they'll use that combination of email and password, and they'll try it against everything. And it mightn't be that site that they get into, but your Gmail account and your LinkedIn could be the same password, and your LinkedIn gets lost. Then they get into your Gmail and they see an invoice coming in, or an invoice needing to be paid, and they get in the middle then, and that's how they're able to scam the money out of people.
How often, Ronan, would you recommend changing passwords? How often?
Microsoft reckon that it's, is it day 4? Is it 30 to 60? About 60 days, I think they say, to change them. Right. But like, in the real world, it's not going to happen. In the corporate world, they force you, like, you have to go in. It has a countdown and a timer, and it'll tell you to change it after it expires, and you have to change it. I've worked in a couple of places, and you have to change it monthly, and that's 10 or 15 years ago. So it's advisable to change them. Like, in the small business and stuff, I know most people don't. I know I don't, because you've so many of them that you have to keep changing them every couple of weeks, and you'd be completely bamboozled with emails. Like, there are email or password tools that you can use to back up multiple passwords, but if you lose the password to that, what do you do then? Like, the enabling the 2FA, like the two-step verification, or I think I showed it. I've got my phone on me, but you can use. There's a Google do one. The Google Authenticator.
Yeah.
So you can enable two-step verification on Facebook, on PayPal, on your bank account, on all this kind of stuff. So when you log into it, you put in your username and password, and then it asks you for a 6-digit code, and you have to go onto your phone. The 6-digit code changes every minute.
Every minute, yeah.
So it's violently hard. It's very, very hard for a hacker to get your email address and password and this code that changes every minute without having your phone having your phone. So like enabling stuff like that would be the best thing to do to stop it. Like I know some of them then send you a text when you try to log in and this kind of thing. So that third step verification is the hardest one to crack for a hacker. So enable that for wherever you can. I know all my remote login stuff, but some of them have 3 different steps that I have. I have a password, I have an authenticator, and it sends me a text with a code. So it's going to be really like any of the remote monitoring stuff that we use for monitoring people's backups and monitoring their computers. It's very, very secure. Like it's nearly a pain to get into it because it takes you 3 minutes to log in every morning to get in and look at this stuff. But I prefer to be doing that than to be ringing someone and saying, yeah, I'm after losing all your information there. Someone got into my computer and stole it. My business I'd be out of business within a couple of days if that kind of thing happened.
Would you recommend Ronan 1Password or LastPass?
It depends. Some of them I haven't checked. A lot of them they are good, as long as you're using the 2-step verification on them. If you're having 1Password to get into your password tool, if they hack that password, all your passwords are there. But it depends on the security of the different password apps. I don't use one, and I haven't really used too many of them. But it is going to that way. I've a call with one. I was supposed to have it before all this lockdown, but I think we've rescheduled it. So they're a cloud-based one, and you put all your passwords into it, and the security is quite good on it. And once I get a bit of information on it, I'll put it out there, what it is and how it works. And I think it's quite reasonable. It's done on a kind of a monthly basis, and it's kind of €1 or €2 a month or something like that, I think. So like when I have a bit of information on that, I'll definitely put it out there.
Yeah, because the 1Password is very powerful, but it's only you just need a password to get in.
Yeah, that's the problem with them. Yeah. As they saw in that video, I don't know, you mightn't have been able to hear it properly, but that's all he did was he used a spoof email to get a keylogger to get his 1Password. And once he had that password, he was into everything. His social security, his bank details, as he says, he was him if he was evil enough. The only thing he couldn't get was his fingerprints.
Yeah. And in terms of a Mac computer, is there standard virus software for Mac, or is it mainly for PC?
There is. I know we deal with a company called ESET, ESET. I don't know if you've ever heard of them, who do all our antivirus stuff like that, and they provide it for Mac and PC. And like I use a Mac myself, and it very rarely you very rarely come across anything on it. But I've had plenty of them in that have been compromised I haven't seen any ransomware on it yet, but I've seen plenty of them with kind of ad pop-ups, and I'm assuming there's probably keyloggers on them because they're running really slow, and when we've cleaned them up, we've got rid of programs and that they say it's a keylogger, but I haven't seen any of them being compromised with passwords being robbed off them. But yeah, no, you do see viruses, and it is getting more prevalent that they are getting onto Macs, because like they're obviously the hackers are getting the red rag in front of them saying, look, you can't get into it, you can't hack us, but they can. And Macs are in America, like they're nearly more used than PCs in certain places. Yeah, so Anne has checked her emails there. They've both been compromised. Yeah, no, like you just go on and check those things. At least you know. There's not a lot you can do about it other than change the passwords. But once you know, at least you know. So if there's Any other questions, or is everyone happy enough?
One was have I been pawned? What was the one before that you used?
The password, I'll send them on to you. I'm going to email you on the videos anyway. How secure is my password?
How secure is my password?
How secure is my password? That's .net and the other one's .com. And the pawned one is PWNED, isn't it? There's no A in it. I'll send them on in an email with those couple of videos, and I'll give you a better breakdown. You might be able to hear them properly.
May I ask, I'd heard somebody say lately that Gmail, like I knew Aircom was not considered exactly very safe, the webmail, but yeah. Gmail isn't considered very safe these days either with professionals. Is that correct?
No, Gmail wouldn't be. Like any of those online email accounts, it's so easy to create one. Like I could take your Gmail one. Yours isn't Gmail, but like you could take your Gmail account and add an.
No, I do have Gmail accounts.
I know, yeah. If you use a business Gmail account and it's, I don't know, Doyle Construction, you could create a one that's Doyle with an extra E construction at gmail.com and be sending emails from it, and it'll look for, if you have the person's signature and stuff from their email, you can very easily create an email that looks identical to it. Like you'd have to really want to read it to go and see there's an extra E in it. But if you have Richard at dronephotography.com, it's very, very hard to go and recreate that email address unless you have access to your hosting platform where that's created. So that's why a Gmail account isn't secure. Like, it's not that it's not secure where the email is saved, it's that it's easy to spoof it. Because like I can go on to gmail.com and create an email address that looks very, very similar to a business email address that's done in Gmail, and then you can very easily spoof from that.
Okay. Cheers.
No problem.
So G Suite then, does that give you a different it doesn't have at Gmail?
G Suite, if you're using G Suite, it's a bit like Office 365. They are, the way your email is hosted by a hosting provider. Like Google server becomes your hosting provider, and you have the same email address, Richard Simmons at whatever photography.com, but it's just hosted on Gmail servers. So like it's same as hosting it on, like I use, mine's hosted on Black Knight. So my email address is hosted on their servers, where the G Suite is hosted on Gmail servers.
Okay.
So if there's no more questions, we'll log off, and I'll email on those couple of videos, and if anyone has any questions, just respond back to the email, or wants to know anything, just respond back and I'll get back to you. Or if anyone wants me to do a 15-minute call with them, that's no problem. I can send out the details or send out a Zoom link, and we can log on and have a chat about whatever you want to do. So let me just unshare that.